Welcome to High Voltage AI, and specifically, our Friday Company Spotlight. Each week, we shine a light on the organizations, the innovators, really shaping the future of electric utilities. From hardware manufacturers to grid analytics startups, engineering firms. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a company called Osmose. Their focus is utility infrastructure solutions and resiliency. Our mission for you today is really to unpack what Osmose does, how their innovations are changing the electric grid, and importantly, what you as a utility engineer should know if you're thinking about or maybe already working with their tech.
It's definitely an important topic. I mean, just think about the scale of aging infrastructure utilities are dealing with. And Osmose, well, they bring a lot of experience, 90 years actually. They partner with utilities all over the globe, the US, UK, Ireland, Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Pretty extensive reach. They really position themselves as a key partner for tackling that aging infrastructure challenge, focusing on inspection, extending life, rehabilitation, basically making the grid stronger.
What struck me right away was just the breadth of their solutions. You've got transmission resiliency, distribution resiliency, joint use management, broadband. They even mentioned osmosis structure, asset management, renewables. It seems like they cover a huge amount of ground. And always with this emphasis on safety, quality, environmental commitment. So where should we start breaking this down?
I think the best place to start is probably the backbone of the distribution system, right? The wood structures, those ubiquitous utility poles. Osmose has a really comprehensive approach here. Think about their inspection and life extension programs, their remedial treatment. This isn't just like a quick fix. It's designed to preserve the pole's initial strength, to add many more years of service life. And the key insight, I think, is that doing this proactively, well, you're not just putting off replacement. You could be getting 20 plus extra years out of that pole, which is just a massive win financially on the O&M side.
Okay, but what happens when a pole is already compromised? Because, the cost and the sheer disruption of replacing every single aging pole, it's just enormous.
Exactly, and that's where their pole restoration systems come into play. These are specifically engineered to restore strength to poles that, maybe due to decay or damage, don't meet the structural requirements anymore. And the critical piece here is that they can do it at a fraction of the cost of a full replacement. Imagine, like a pole with decay near the ground line. Instead of digging it all up, they can install these reinforcing systems. They essentially bypass the weak spot, bring the pole's load capacity back up to spec. It's like structural engineering right there in the field, which is super valuable in, say, remote areas or places that are just tough to get equipment into.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting for me, thinking about proactive grid hardening. These Osmose structural resiliency solutions for wood poles. You're saying these aren't about fixing existing damage. They're about strengthening poles before a storm hits. How? How do they even do that? How do they know which poles need it?
Right. This is where their data side really comes to the forefront. It's pretty advanced. They combine predictive analytics, and this is based on decades of their own field data, plus machine learning with really innovative ways to collect new data. They also have deep expertise in pole loading analysis using their own software, OCalc Pro, which is a sophisticated tool for analyzing pole structures. This lets them pinpoint the weak points, the vulnerabilities with remarkable precision. Then they deploy what they call a family of trussing systems. And these aren't just generic supports, they're often advanced composite systems designed to redistribute the critical loads away from weak sections of the pole. It effectively reroutes the stress before a catastrophic failure happens. And the impact. Well, they state this targeted approach is 5 times faster and often 70% cheaper than just replacing everything. It's a total shift, really, from being reactive to being proactive.
Wow. 5 times faster? 70% less cost.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crucial right now. Utilities are under so much pressure to harden their grids, and fast, with climate change impacts escalating. But it's not just wood poles, is it? What about the big guys? The transmission system, those massive steel structures.
Precisely. Yeah, wood poles are, a huge part of distribution, but steel and concrete structures have their own set of challenges, often dealing with extreme weather, huge electrical loads, sometimes difficult environments. And Osmose is also a major player in steel asset assessment and resiliency. They position themselves as that trusted partner to make sure transmission structures get the right attention at the right time so they can withstand severe weather, fires, corrosion. Their corrosion prediction, for instance, isn't just looking at it. They often use advanced NDT, non-destructive testing, to find internal material loss or cracking you just can't see.
So for a utility engineer managing these big steel assets, what kind of restoration or upgrade solutions are we actually talking about? And how much data really goes into this?
Right. Well, the solutions range from detailed structure evaluations and analysis, which then lead to designs for restoration or upgrades. The goal is always extending the useful life and often increasing the capacity of these steel assets. And it's incredibly data-driven. They collect data in the field using an exclusive field analysis program they've developed. That data feeds into their own proprietary resiliency modeling software. This lets them design everything from, simple reinforcements to really complex structural upgrades. And here's a really key financial point for utilities. Many of these services can actually be capitalized, which means you can avoid hitting your operations and maintenance budget unnecessarily. That's a big deal for planning.
Okay, so beyond wood and steel, you mentioned they cover underground and overhead services too. What should engineers know about their underground offerings?
Right, underground infrastructure is becoming more and more critical for resilience, right? Getting lines buried. So Osmose offers things like fault inspection, using drones sometimes for inspecting conduits and vaults, pad mount inspection for checking equipment, also contact voltage detection, which is crucial for public safety and comprehensive cable lifecycle asset management. It's all about understanding the condition of those assets you can't easily see, preventing failures, ensuring safety.
And overhead, what's covered there?
Overhead, they offer a pretty wide range, too. Things like aerial services, detailed overhead inspections, mapping and asset verification, making sure the utilities records are actually accurate, and infrared inspections. Infrared is great for spotting hotspots, potential connection failures before they cause an outage. It's about using the right tools to get the full picture of the network's health.
You mentioned broadband earlier, too, and Osmovision. How does Osmose fit into the broadband space? That seems a bit different.
Well, it connects directly to the poles, actually. With fiber optic and 5G rollouts happening so fast, managing who attaches what to utility poles that's joint use has become a huge challenge. So Osmose offers joint use administration services, critical when you have multiple companies sharing the same pole. This includes things like joint use audits, checking clearances, doing pole loading analysis again, often using that OCalc Pro software, and also make-ready survey and design. Make-ready is basically the engineering work needed to modify a pole so it can safely handle new attachments like fiber cables, making sure everything fits and the pole isn't overloaded. And then there's Osmovision. That's their AI platform. It uses computer vision to analyze images from drones or ground crews to automatically spot defects, identify vegetation issues, map assets. It massively speeds up the whole design and make-ready process for getting broadband deployed faster.
That sounds like a real game changer for accelerating network builds. And of course, we shouldn't forget their role in storm services. When disaster strikes, that rapid response is vital. But stepping back from the individual services, what makes Osmose really stand out? It feels like it boils down to their sheer scale and this focus on innovation.
I think that's exactly right. Their leadership in the industry is pretty clear. They work with over 400 different utility and telco companies. And the scale numbers are, well, they're kind of staggering. They report visiting over 9.3 million structures annually. And they can scale projects from just a handful of assets up to over 1 million structures per year for one partner. You have to ask, how many companies can really operate at that kind of volume and maintain quality?
It's like managing a highly specialized operation across continents, really. And that scale must enable some serious innovation. I saw news from April 24th, 2025, about Osmose getting an FAA waiver for beyond visual line of sight drone operations. Now, for you, the utility engineer listening, why is that such a big deal?
Oh, it's enormous. Yeah. BVLOS, beyond visual line of sight. It basically means their drones can fly much longer missions over greater distances without needing an observer keeping eyes on the drone the whole time. This drastically improves their ability to collect aerial data for utilities. Think about the efficiency gains covering way more ground, much faster, safety improvements too, less need for people in potentially hazardous or remote areas, and just the sheer scope of inspections you can do. You can capture data more comprehensively, continuously across entire transmission corridors or distribution circuits. It really represents a fundamental shift in how utilities can monitor their infrastructure from the air.
And it seems like they're not just providing services, they're also invested in supporting the industry itself. You mentioned Osmose University.
Yeah, Osmose University looks like a solid resource. They offer technical seminars covering their main areas: steel, wood, joint use, underground infrastructure, plus webinars. It suggests they're not just selling, they're trying to share expertise, elevate the knowledge base across the industry. And then there's OCalc Pro, that software we talked about. It's not just for their internal teams. They offer it as a tool to the industry, complete with training and support. It shows a commitment to empowering engineers directly.
So pulling this all together, what does this deep dive into Osmose really tell us? I think it clearly illustrates how companies like this, with decades of very specialized expertise, combined with a real drive for innovation, are just fundamental to keeping our grid safe and bringing it up to modern standards. For you, the utility engineer, understanding these solutions, from the cost savings of pole restoration to these advanced resiliency programs to cutting-edge drone tech like BVLOS, it's just crucial for making smart strategic decisions about managing infrastructure.
Absolutely. And maybe here's something to think about. As our grid faces more and more demands electrification, climate change, extreme weather, how might this continued deeper integration of advanced data collection, predictive analytics, the kind of stuff Osmose is pioneering, how might that fundamentally reshape our entire approach, moving us away from just reacting to failures towards a truly proactive, intelligent way of managing the grid's life cycle?
That's a great thought to leave folks with. If you'd like to leave feedback or have any questions for us, feel free to reach out. I'm at alex.reed.power.podcast@gmail.com.
And I'm at emma.quinn.power.podcast@gmail.com.